we are seeing the first major shift in the balance of naval power in the Pacific since the end of the Second World War. And at the very center of this transformation is the Type 055 destroyer of China's People's Liberation Army Navy, shortly the PLAN. This is a comprehensive analysis of one of the most modern and heavily armed warships in service today. The Type 055 large destroyer is formally designated by NATO as the Renhai-class. This new generation of guided missile destroyer reflects China's rapidly advancing naval shipbuilding and industrial capabilities. Designed and engineered by the China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation's 701st Research Institute, and brought to life in the sprawling dry docks of the Jiangnan and the Dalian shipyards, the Type 055 stands as the largest surface combatant constructed anywhere in Asia since the Second World War. Surface combatants obviously exclude aircraft carriers and amphibious assault ships, so we're talking strictly about dedicated surface warfare combatants. The Type 055 comes with a high degree of acoustic, infrared, and radar stealth, and is equipped with active electronically scanned array radars, and a universal vertical launching system comprising 112 individual cells. These elements in combination position the Type 055 among the world's most dangerous warships. To truly understand the strategic impact of this class, one must first look at how it is perceived by rival powers. In recognition of its massive physical footprint and command and control capabilities, the United States took the unusual step of classifying the Type 055 as a cruiser in a 2017 paper on Chinese military power. From a purely analytical standpoint, the Type 055 surpasses the United States Navy's aging Ticonderoga-class cruisers in almost every metrics. Whether one is measuring total displacement, the volume of kinetic firepower, or the sensitivity of its sensor suite. However, the designation of a cruiser is firmly rejected by the Chinese military. The United States Navy, for instance, has designated significantly larger ships as merely destroyers. The most prominent example being the DDG-1000, known as the Zumwalt. If the global naval community is categorizing vessels strictly by displacement, a metric the US Navy applies, at least in part, one could justifiably stick to the PLA label of a destroyer. However, the US Navy's cruiser designation also includes the command and control elements, especially for air defense. Anyway, whichever designation is used for the Type 055 will inevitably be controversial. The genesis of the Type 055 is not recent. Its roots trace back to the height of the Cold War. The very first conceptual attempt at developing a large destroyer for the Chinese Navy began in 1968, during a period of immense domestic upheaval and complex geopolitics. The Naval Committee of the Communist Party submitted a detailed report to the Central Military Commission, ambitiously titled Recommendations on Building Fast Seas Escort Ships. Based on this foundational document, preliminary development commenced on the blueprint for a new class of blue water warships, which was subsequently designated the Type 055. In June of 1970, Premier Zhou Enlai officially granted the necessary governmental approval to proceed with the development of large guided missile destroyers. To support this undertaking, a vast network of specialized agencies and technical committees was assembled. However, ambition quickly collided with the harsh realities of China's industrial baseline at the time. The initial Type 055 project eventually stagnated in the late 1970s and early 1980s, before being officially and completely terminated in 1989. the fatal flaw in the original program was a severe lack of indigenous technical expertise regarding critical marine technologies, most notably reliable gas turbines for heavy naval use, as well as the advanced metallurgical and hydrodynamic understanding required for modern propellers. The Chinese government had attempted to negotiate with Western powers to acquire these highly sensitive technologies, but these discussions ultimately stalled. In blunt terms, China throughout the 1970s and 1980s simply lacked the industrial foundation, the scientific know-how, and the macroeconomic strength required to field advanced guided missile destroyers. The dormant Type 055 project was quietly revived in the dawn of the 21st century. It remains unclear whether this modern iteration was an entirely blank slate design or a heavily modified continuation of the original concept from 1968. What is undeniably clear, however, is the speed at which the modern program materialized. In 2014, the first tangible evidence of the ship's existence shocked the naval intelligence community. A massive, full-scale structural mock-up of a warship superstructure was photographed on multiple occasions at a naval testing facility in Wuhan. This land-based testbed featured a distinctively stealthy, sharply angled design that did not match any known vessel in the Chinese inventory. Analysts immediately speculated that this imposing structure was the radar and electronic warfare testing rig for the Type 055 project. State-affiliated media outlets, such as the Global Times, began publishing reports on these developments, deliberately maintaining a tone of ambiguity regarding their true significance. The world did not have to wait long for confirmation. The first two operational ships of the Type 055 class, christened the Nanchang and the Lhasa, were ceremoniously launched into the water in 2017 and 2018, respectively. This marked the beginning of an unprecedented and rapid succession of further launches that would catch many Western observers off guard. The formidable task of constructing this fleet of super destroyers is divided between two of China's most vital and expansive naval shipyards. The first is the Dalian shipbuilding industry facility, strategically located on the Liaodong Peninsula along the northern coastline of the Yellow Sea. The second is the Jianan shipyard, situated on the sprawling delta of the Yangtze River, just to the north of the financial megacity of Shanghai. For decades, these two colossal shipyards have borne the primary responsibility for constructing the PLA Navy's large surface combatants, a specialized industrial function they have continuously refined and modernized. Over the course of the last 10 years, these two facilities have been operating on an astonishing, almost wartime tempo, churning out large numbers of major warships, including the prolific Type 052D and Type 052DL destroyers, alongside the massive Type 055s. Crucially, these are dual-use shipyards. This means that the construction of civilian and commercial ships occurs alongside their military output. In fact, Dalian and Jianan rank among the largest commercial shipbuilding enterprises on the planet. This dual-use nature grants the Chinese naval procurement system immense economies of scale, a highly skilled and continuously active workforce, and a deep supply chain that purely military shipyards in the West often struggle to maintain. 10 vessels are currently in service. Following the launch of the second ship, the Lhasa, an astonishing 6 additional vessels were launched in a narrow window between July 2018 and August 2020. These included the Dalian and the Yan'an, both launched in July 2018, the Ansan, which touched water in September 2019, the Zunyi following closely in December 2019, the Wuxi in May 2020, and finally the Xianyang in August 2020. These 8 ships comprise the first production batch. However, the slipways did not remain empty. A second batch is currently under aggressive construction spread across both the Dalian and Jiangnan facilities, and 2 ships from the second batch are already commissioned. While the exact total number of ships slated for the second batch remains uncertain, most analysts believe an additional 8 more ships is a reasonable projection, potentially bringing the total number to 16 of these massive combatants in the near future. Let's examine the Type 055's sheer physical mass and the power plants that drives it through the water. The total full load displacement of the Type 055 sits comfortably around the 13,000-ton mark. To put this into perspective, it is nearly double the displacement of its immediate predecessor, the Type 052D. The hull stretches 180 meters in length, with a beam measuring 20 meters across. Propelling a 13,000-ton ship at combat speeds requires a large amount of energy. The propulsion system is a combined gas and gas configuration, commonly referred to as COGAG. In the setup, multiple gas turbines are connected to each of the ship's twin propeller shafts. A system of reduction gearboxes and heavy-duty clutches allows different combinations of these turbines operating at different speeds to drive the propellers, changing power delivery depending on the tactical situation and the desired cruising speed. While gas turbines generally suffer from lower fuel efficiency compared to traditional marine diesel engines, they offer advantages in terms of rapid acceleration, sustained high speeds, and a better power-to-weight ratio. The Type 055 is driven by 4 indigenous QC280 marine gas turbines. Together, they generate 112 megawatts of mechanical power, translating to approximately 150,000 shaft horsepower. This brute force allows the ship to sustain top speeds in excess of 30 knots, a crucial metric for keeping pace with fast-moving aircraft carrier strike groups. Furthermore, the ship has a respectable operational endurance, capable of traversing 9,300 kilometers without requiring underway replenishment. Mechanical propulsion is only part of the Type 055's engineering profile. In modern naval warfare, electrical power generation is a critical operational requirement. Radars, electronic warfare systems, combat computers, and potential future directed energy weapons require substantial, uninterrupted streams of electricity. In this regard, the Type 055 is a highly capable platform. Separate from the propulsion turbines, the ship is equipped with 6 dedicated gas turbine generators, each capable of producing 5 megawatts. This provides the ship with a total installed electrical generation capacity of 30 megawatts. To contextualize this figure, the United States Navy's Arleigh Burke class Flight 2A destroyer generates 9 megawatts of installed electrical power, while the modernized Flight 3 generates 12 megawatts. By definition, the Type 055 commands a notable advantage in available electrical power for its sensor arrays and combat management systems. Because of this power surplus, the Type 055 can sustain the operation of larger, further-reaching, active, electronically scanned array radars than current US Navy frontline destroyers without risking electrical grid overloads. Furthermore, the 30 megawatts generated sits well above the baseline requirements of the ship's current systems. This deliberate reserve capacity points to significant potential for future upgrades. allowing for the integration of high-energy weapon systems, such as railguns or directed energy weapons, as well as next-generation sensors, as they become technologically mature. To operate this vessel, the ship accommodates a complement of around 300 personnel, which includes the specialized aviation crews and mechanics required to maintain embarked aircraft. The Type 055 is one of the few large surface combatants in the modern Chinese fleet designed with a fully enclosed double hangar, granting it the capacity to house, service, and deploy 2 medium-lift naval helicopters. From an architectural standpoint, the ship can be viewed as an enlarged and significantly stealthier evolution of its predecessor, the Type 052D, which itself iterated upon the designs of the Type 052C and 052B. Beginning at the bow, the foredeck features the HPJ-45 130mm naval gun. This artillery is operated by a fully automatic loading system, allowing for sustained volume fire for shore bombardments or surface engagements. The gun utilizes a faceted design engineered to scatter incoming radar waves and contributes to the ship's overall low observable profile. This is of operational importance, as the main gun is located at the front of the vessel, an angle frequently exposed to search radars during direct approach. Immediately aft of the main gun lies the primary offensive battery, a universal vertical launching system comprising 64 cells. Situated in a super firing position directly in front of the bridge is a Type 1130 close-in weapon system. This system serves as the ship's final layer of kinetic defense. Armed with an 11-barrel rotary cannon, the Type 1130 is designed to create a dense screen of tungsten or depleted uranium projectiles, making it suited for intercepting supersonic anti-ship missiles approaching from the front within a 270-degree arc. Behind this is the sharply angled bridge, serving as the primary command center from which the ship is navigated. A defining visual characteristic of the Type 055 lies on the 4 angled corners of its forward superstructure. Embedded within these bulkheads are the 4 large flat panel faces of the ship's primary radar system, an active, electronically scanned array. Above the superstructure housing the bridge is an enclosed integrated mast. This mast departs from traditional open radar mast, housing an X-band radar system entirely enclosed within faceted panels. Moving further aft are the low-profile smokestacks, designed to vent the heat of the gas turbines while minimizing the ship's thermal signature. Immediately behind the exhaust funnels sits the secondary 48-cell vertical launch block. The aft section is defined by the aviation facilities, the double hangar, and the flight deck. Integrated beneath the hull are anti-submarine torpedo tubes, housed inside enclosed firing ports that open only at launch to mitigate the ship's radar cross-section. Within the interior citadel lies the Combat Information Center, which fuses data from all sensors and manages the ship's array of weaponry. The physical design of the Type 055 is an advanced example of modern signature management. It is a stealthy vessel. The continuous lines of the hull, the compact superstructure, and the integrated radar mast are suited to minimize the ship's radar signature. Furthermore, acoustic dampening improvements have reduced the underwater noise level of the ship's machinery compared to previous generations. While the size and power generation of the Type 055 allows it to undertake a wide array of maritime missions, it serves a primary tactical focus, fleet air defense across all ranges, with an emphasis on long-range interception. The core of the Type 055's air defense capability is its universal VLS. With a total of 112 cells divided between the forward and the aft VLS batteries, the ship possesses a significant magazine depth. These cells are typically loaded with the HHQ-9B long-range surface-to-air missile, a primary component of Chinese fleet air defense. The HHQ-9B possesses an engagement range of 300 kilometers and accelerates to speeds around Mach 4. They utilize active radar homing in their terminal phase. This allows the missile to independently seek out targets without requiring continuous guidance from the ship. Defense analysts have recently been discussing a potential upgrade to this defensive suite, the introduction of quad packing capabilities. Quad packing refers to fitting 4 individual, slightly smaller surface-to-air missiles into the space of a single standard-sized vertical launch cell. This effectively quadruples the ammunition capacity for point and medium-range defense. If the Type 055 integrates this capability, it will experience a substantial boost to its available defensive firepower to sustain interceptions against large numbers of incoming missiles or drones. The new missile, reportedly designed for this purpose, is known by the numerical designation of the 555 missile. This moniker reflects expectations that it possesses an engagement range of 50 kilometers and achieves a maximum interception speed of Mach 5. Given these specifications, the 555 would serve as a functional counterpart to the US Navy's evolved Sea Sparrow missile, which provides similar quad-packing utility. While the Chinese defense industry has publicly demonstrated quad-packing capabilities with the medium-range FC-3000N missile at the Zhuhai Air Show, it remains uncertain whether the missile intended for mass deployment across the destroyer fleets is a variant of the FC-3000N or another project. A consensus among Chinese observers indicates that a quad-packing capability is likely either in active service or approaching introduction. The Type 055 does not rely solely on long-range interceptors. It employs a multi-layered defense. Should an enemy missile bypass the HHQ-9B, it must contend with an array of points defenses. In addition to the 11-barrel Type 1130 close-in weapon system dominating the forward arc, the ship features the HHQ-10 short-range air defense missile system. This system is housed within a 24-cell rotating launcher installed directly above the aft helicopter hangar. The HHQ-10 is engineered for rapid rotation and the simultaneous engagement of multiple targets. It acts as the final layer of kinetic defense explicitly designed for the late-stage interception of low-flying, sea-skimming anti-ship missiles. Beyond these hard-kill options, the destroyer is protected by a suite of electronic countermeasures, forming the soft-kill layer of defense. Standard across modern Chinese frontline destroyers are 4 Type 726 decoy launchers positioned at the aft end of the main superstructure. These versatile decoy launchers can be loaded with thermal flares to spoof infrared seekers or radar-reflecting aluminum shaft to confuse radar guidance. By deploying timed blooms of shaft and flares, the ship aims to mask its location and break missile locks. Furthermore, to address the asymmetric threat of naval sabotage, the midship section houses a pair of specialized anti-frogman rocket launchers covering each flank. These weapons intend to target hostile combat divers and covert submersibles by unleashing a rocket barrage into the water, preventing specialized enemy units from approaching the hull to attach explosive ordnance. The firepower housed within the Type 055 is directed by a comprehensive sensor suite. It has the processing power and sensor fidelity required to simultaneously track numerous fighter aircraft and cruise missiles, while guiding interceptors to their targets. At the very core of the situational awareness is the Type 346B S-band active electronically scanned array radar, known within NATO reporting circles as Dragon Eye. This liquid-cooled radar system is comprised of 4 flat panels integrated into the angled faces of the forward superstructure. Together, they provide continuous 360-degree radar coverage without the mechanical delays associated with rotating radar dishes. The physical arrays of the Type 346B are roughly 40% larger in surface area than those mounted on the preceding Type 052D destroyers. In radar physics, a larger aperture translates to an increase in radiated power and receiver sensitivity. The high instrumental range of the Dragon Eye enables broad airspace monitoring, though actual detection distances vary based on the physical size and altitude of the target. Complementing the Dragon Eye is an X-band radar system installed around the tip of the enclosed radar mast, optimized for high-resolution, short-range targets tracking. This system acts as a sensitive surface search radar. Because S-band radars can encounter interference from ocean wave clutter at close ranges, this X-band radar plays a critical role in detecting and tracking low-flying, sea-skimming missiles as they cross the radar horizon. Viewing the Type 055 purely as a defensive asset overlook its offensive capabilities. For anti-surface operations, the ship utilizes the YJ-18 supersonic cruise missile. Launching an anti-ship missile like the YJ-18 requires a deep vertical launch cell, measuring roughly 9 meters in length to accommodate the booster. On the older Type 052D class, only 32 of the total 64 cells were constructed to this 9-meter depth, restricting the remaining cells to shorter air defense weapons. The Type 055 does not have this limitation. All 112 cells measure a full 9 meters in depth, rendering them all strike length. This design choice means the destroyer can accommodate any combination of China's compatible missile inventory. A commanding officer can load a varied mix of the YJ-18 anti-ship missiles, the HHQ-9B air defense interceptors, rockets-delivered U-8 anti-submarine torpedoes, and the latest YJ-20 anti-ship ballistic missiles. The primary anti-ship tool, the YJ-18, is designed for low observability and high terminal speed. Upon launch, it cruises towards the target's area at a fuel-efficient subsonic speed, flying close to the ocean waves to remain below the enemy's radar horizon. As it enters the terminal phase, the missile sheds its cruise engine, ignites a solid rocket booster, and accelerates to a supersonic velocity while executing evasive maneuvers. This design compresses the opposing fleet's reaction time. With an estimated operational range of 500 kilometers, the YJ-18 is engineered to delay detection until the final moments before impact. A notable capability of the Type 055 is its capability to field weapons previously uncommon on surface warships. Because the vertical launch cells on the Type 055 measure 9 meters in length, compared to the 7.6-meter maximum length of the American Mark 41 strike module. The vessel can accommodate larger weapon classes. This physical volume allows the Type 055 to house vertically launched ballistic missiles, most notably the YJ-20 anti-ship ballistic missile. The YJ-20 functions similarly to a modern hypersonic glide vehicle rather than a traditional ballistic missile. Note the YJ-20 has previously been misidentified as the YJ-21, which is actually the designation for an air-launched hypersonic weapon carried by the PLA's naval bombers. Official imagery released by the PLA has shown the Type 055 launching this weapon from its forward cells. Based on technical information released by the Chinese military, the YJ-20 is believed to maintain a cruising speed of Mach 6 during its high-altitude transit phase. As it begins its final attack run, it accelerates to a terminal velocity near Mach 10 upon impact. The integration of the YJ-20 represents a fundamental shift in the combat value of China's destroyer squadrons. It allows a vessel designed for fleet escorts to independently pose a threat to opposing aircraft carriers from a long distance away. In the subsurface domain, the Type 055 possesses robust anti-submarine warfare capabilities. A primary asset for hunting submarines is the embarked aviation. The destroyer's double hangar allows it to maintain two specialized ASW helicopters, likely the Z-20 naval variant or possibly the heavier Z-18F. The provision of a double hangar provides redundancy and continuous airborne coverage. If carrying the larger Z-20F, the hangar may be restricted to a single airframe. These helicopters are equipped with dipping sonars, sonobuoys, and lightweight ASW torpedoes, serving as mobile submarine hunters. On board, the Type 055 is fitted with a comprehensive suite of acoustic sensors. This includes a low-frequency towed array sonar for long-range detection, complemented by a variable depth sonar that can be lowered through different thermal layers to detect submarines hiding in the thermocline. Should an enemy submarine be identified, the destroyer's vertically launched U-8 anti-submarine missiles act as rockets-delivered torpedoes, engaging the target from a long distance. For closer underwater threats, 6 lightweight torpedo tubes are available. Given the high strategic value of the Type 055, naval doctrine dictates relying on long-range rockets-delivered torpedoes and ASW helicopters, maintaining a buffer zone to remain outside the range of enemy heavyweight torpedoes. Examining the broader tactical doctrine of the PLA Navy, a Chinese carrier strike group generally features 1 or 2 Type 055 destroyers acting as the core escort. They are typically supported by about twice the number of Type 052D destroyers and Type 054A frigates. In this formation, the Type 055 is generally positioned as the front of the group's axis of advance. From this vanguard position, it utilizes its radar power to detect and engage aerial threats with long-range surface-to-air missiles. Concurrently, it is positioned to transition into an offensive role, launching coordinated strikes using YJ-20 anti-ship ballistic missiles. While the ship monitors the horizon and maintains readiness for engagement, it also acts as a hub for anti-submarine operations, cycling its helicopters to screen the waters ahead. Compared to smaller escort ships, the Type 055 possesses superior helicopter maintenance and operational capacity, expanding the anti-submarine warfare umbrella of the naval force. In a smaller independent formation, such as a surface action group, the Type 055 serves as the primary combatant, significantly increasing the offensive firepower and threat radius of the squadron with its YJ-20 missiles. Looking toward future naval developments, the substantial power generation capacity of the Type 055's gas turbine generators, currently operating with planned excess capacity, indicates an intentional pathway for future upgrades. The vessel is structurally engineered to accommodate emerging technologies. Within the coming decades, we may expect the integration of high-energy systems like directed energy lasers and electromagnetic railguns. Additionally, the development of a vertically launched ballistic missile interceptor is a likely requirement, given the global proliferation of tactical and theater-level ballistic missiles. The American ATACMS is one example. These potential should ensure the Type 055's relevance well into the mid-21st century. As one of the most heavily armed surface combatants currently in service, the Type 055 underscores China's effort to cement its status as a leading naval power. While the implications of its deployment and the exact limits of its weapons remain subjects of debate, the Type 055's impact on the underlying naval balance of power in the Pacific is undeniable.